Greetings, everybody. It's us again. All right, it's us. Okay, it's your boy Heem, and I'm back with my guy DJ Cadero, the number one DJ in the game.
That's quite an intro, man.
It is.
You're getting better.
Hey,
Episode.
episode 8. Get better with time.
Look at you. Look at you.
Come on now. But today, hey, you try to make me all happy with the compliments. Today I'm mad, okay?
I
am mad today.
Are you upset because there's no heat in this garage?
And you don't gotta tell everybody that. You know what I'm saying? They gotta know all that. You know what I'm saying? They don't gotta know that.
Why not?
Because, man, they ain't none of their business.
Yes, sir.
What they do gotta know is why I'm mad at you. Okay.
You're mad at me?
I'm mad at you.
Why?
Yes. Because this is supposed to be a conversation between the African and the African American.
Okay.
And then I look on my news one day. I'm looking on, my little Facebook, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on in the world. And excuse my language, y'all, but I look on the news and they said it's an African out here fucking everybody's bitches. Fucking everybody's bitches. Huh? I know y'all done seen it. What's my guy name? What's his name? I'm trying to look it up. The Equatorial of Guinea. Huh? He had the sex tape scandal. Huh? Over 400 women.
Imagine.
No condoms. Huh? And these is all his wives and the girlfriends of his people.
Of his peers.
The people he work with. The people he friends with.
Yeah.
The dude that cut his grass. So I'm left thinking, I'm African American.
Yeah.
My woman a little fine. Is Ochata trying to fuck my
Chill.
So that's what we need to talk about today, y'all. That's what we need to talk about. What's going on in this? What is going on with the promiscuity of black people?
Yeah.
Huh? What's going on with that? What's up with the sex? Why we can't control our dicks?
Yeah.
What's up with that tension? And why y'all fucking our bitches? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So the first thing I want to share for those that don't know, there's been some stuff going on, and they've been saying this for a long time in the African American community that, this is what they say now. Black people will have sex with your woman. They've been saying that for a while, even since slavery. Watch out for the blacks, because they will fuck your bitch. White men been mad for a long time, because they will fuck your bitch.
What an episode.
Hey, we need to uncover that. Why is that the matter, and why is it going on? Because what we are looking at right now is this topic. We're bringing it up because here's the topic from the BBC, so you know it's official. Why massive sex tape leak could be a ploy for power in Equatorial Guinea. And all of this is centered around this young man with some clear frames. His name, what it looks like, it's called Bello or something like that. I don't know what his name is.
Just call him Bello.
Oh, Bello?
Just call him Bello.
But boy, he is out here having a time.
Yeah.
Raw dogging. Huh. Not even caring. Huh. And what I want to know is why? Where does that come from? And that's kind of the question that I want to start with tonight. Because what I want to know is, where does that stereotype come from about the hypersexualization of the black man? Why are we like this? Huh? Is that an African thing? Is that an African American thing? What is that? Or am I tripping? Let's start off there.
So if you're asking me if it is, embedded in us, if it's inherent in us, I don't believe so. And I have examples for you. One prime example is I'm from East Africa. There are more than several communities where they're remote villages where women are walking around without tops.
And
they're
without tops.
So they're not
just
walking around.
Bare-breasted. Just titties out.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Where?
I mean, you could just all of us that are at least 25 plus grew up with National Geographic, right?
Thanks. Yeah, they be out there. Bad boys, like, but they be playing in the mud and stuff though.
So, I know you about the jokes today. So, with that, is that oftentimes, right?
Yeah.
Like those women don't have a care in the world about anybody coming to violate them. Because the men in that particular area would, how they used to say it?
Protect.
It's repping time.
Yeah.
You know, by the time that you even reach, for like you say, a titty,
Yeah.
right? There's a spear going right in the middle, right? How they say, right between the eyes?
Right between the eyes. So there's no grabbing them by the pussy.
Man, in those places,
Yeah.
no, women are highly respected.
Yes. So
that's one example. The other example is that this is in a time of warfare. I'm from Kenya, and before we got our independence from the British, there was a lot of little battles, and the little battles, a lot of it came from the Mau Mau.
What's the Mau Mau? Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, the Mau Mau was a group of a secret society from the Kikuyu tribe, led by several people, but one of them, pretty popular, is Dedan Kimathi.
Okay.
Right? He had long locks, by the way.
Like my guys.
Yeah.
And shout out to everybody with the dreads.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So when the British was occupying Kenya, they occupied because they had homesteads and farms. And so one of the oaths that you had taken, becoming initiated into the Mau Mau secret society, was that you wouldn't come across a British farm and rape the women. And if you did so, your Mau Mau brother had the right and the means to kill you.
Really?
And so oftentimes when a raided village or a raided British farm in Kenya the destruction had been complete, the damage was done, they would interview the women. And oftentimes the British women would say what? They would say, yeah, they burned the crops. They killed my husband. They killed my eldest son. They did whatever, but they left me alone.
Left you alone. And that's a good thing?
It goes to is relevant to what you said about being inherent in us, about being hypersexual.
Yes.
Because in a time of warfare, wouldn't you think that rape would be a tool of war?
Yeah.
And
in
those
most
guys,
places, in some places it did.
But those guys didn't.
They did.
But they would murder people, right?
Yeah.
But they left the women alone, right?
Them alone.
The women of the enemy, right?
Yeah. I guess that's what they kind of say around war crimes. I guess that's what that's classified as. If you do,
and they didn't commit that war.
They didn't commit the war crime. So what you're saying is, historically,
we haven't been about that.
We ain't been about that.
No.
So
we've quenched our thirst.
Quenched the thirst. Even when we was pillaging communities and blowing up everything during war. And we said no.
And the source cited that I have of that is I have a book. I'll go ahead and put in the description. Well, Raheem will put in the description box below. I actually have a physical copy of this book.
Really?
That has personal testimony of the women of those British farms.
What is it called?
If I can't remember right, it's something about the terror of the Mau Mau. And with pictures, by the way, of deceased British farmers. And of course, the women that were interviewed afterwards as well, saying like, yeah, they did everything, but they didn't touch me. Yeah. And I was confused.
You know, it's strange because I want to see that book. For y'all that's watching, I'm going to make sure that the information is included.
Yeah, I'll take a picture of it. We'll put it on right now.
Get it, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because the books that I grew up with, I'm sure some of y'all would know, some of y'all might not know. But in my family, we had these books that my mom and my daddy, they bought to remind us of our history. Like you just said, that was a history book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we had the Ebony Magazine Black History book. Yes, sir. It came in 4 volumes. You know what I'm saying? And it told the history of American Black people. But also in that book, and I got it in the house, But volume 2s and volume 3s was really about the American slavery. And they had pictures of these things. So, like the Jim Crows, their era and all that, then pre and post, they had pictures documenting this. And I only bring that up because that's important, as we look into, what's going on in the world. Because, again, this is just general conversation, but based on my knowledge of history and things of that nature, like Brother Ochanda said, the promiscuity around men and women, even in time of war. There's a lot of civilizations and cultures and people that even in war, they won't disrespect the women. There's no rape, there's no sodomy, there's none of those bad words that people in modern times go to jail for. But in some cultures, that is the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're going to come in your village, we're going to come and take all your shit, we're going to fuck your bitch, and maybe even your kids too. You know what I'm saying? So the question I have is, when did that all start? How did that get configured with the black man? Okay, because now in 2024, this is an article a week old. Brother, what's his name again? Oh, yo.
We'll call him Bello.
Bello.
Yeah.
Brother Bello. It's not like he worked at the factory. He's not working at the factory. He's not driving a forklift.
He's not a warehouse.
He's not doing that. He's not out paving the roads. He's not at KFC making your chicken. My brother is like the head. He's projected to be the next president of the Equatorial Guinea government. Like, we talking about big time teams, okay? This brother's not playing. And not only is he protecting the civils and the principles and everything that becomes around being a citizen of Equatorial Guinea. Not only is he doing that from 8 to 5, from 5 to 8, he's still putting in work. And that's what we need to talk about. When did black men become associated with sexual tensions? And when did black men become associated with this stereotype of being over-sexualized? When did that start?
Ooh. I mean, I'd say just like anything else, accountability. I had said earlier that to take the oath, being initiated as a man into the Mau Mau secret society, is that when you would do wrong, your brother was liable to punish you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at a lot of Caribbean and African governments today, and it's like when somebody does something wrong, there's little to no accountability.
Yeah.
Whether that's sexual assault, money laundering, the embezzlement of funds, right? For departments of health, education, finance, etc. And so I'd say that, you know how they say like most crime is committed at night?
Yeah.
When people can't see or aren't able to see?
It's nighttime right now. You know what I'm saying? Y'all who listening, it's nighttime right now. All right. So if that is true, then I need my shiesty. You know what I'm saying?
What's a shiesty, by the way?
Hey, Reed, talk about that right now. But shiesty is something that you use. Let me tell you something. If you ain't got nothing much going for you, you know what I'm saying? And people know this. If you ain't got a good career, if you ain't got a good business, if you ain't got nothing that's generating some additional cash flow and revenue into your business, I tell you something. I learned this from the good prophet, Project Pat. Hey, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Project Pat and his good brother, Juicy J. These is big prophets, y'all. Okay, this is what they say. A gun plus a mask, that equals cash. Okay. That's like 1 + 1. You know what I'm saying? So a shiesty is a mask. It's an instrument used to generate
income,
revenue.
Oh,
yes. Gotcha. But not for me. Yeah. I don't use shiesties.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah. All
right. But I got one.
Okay.
I got two.
Okay.
Okay. But Brother Bello. Yeah, Bello. You try to Brother Bello.
Yeah.
He was fucking everybody's bitch.
Yep.
With no shiesty.
Yeah.
no condom.
You know.
This was all raw. This is raw sex, y'all.
Jeez.
And
Oh my God.
And imagine you working for the government
Yeah.
and your boss
Yeah.
is having sexual relations
With.
with everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody in the office. You come in the office, he's gonna have sex with you too. Huh?
Jeez. Yeah.
So he was doing
Pause.
all of this.
Pause. Big pause.
All big pause.
Yeah.
He was doing all of this, y'all. But the thing that I want to point out is not only was he doing this on behalf of his country, okay? But he was in video recording it too. He was recording it like he in a bad boy video, like he with P. Diddy. He looking, he telling another pose, everybody posing. They looking at the camera now. He's recording it. So the question that I got is with this hypersexualization of the black man. And nowadays in 2024, you have government officials doing these things because although, and I guess this is the question I have for you.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the question I just asked. How did this get attached to the black man? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
How did it get attached? Because now that I think about it, the misuse of power, the sexual hyperization, the promiscuity of people with power, is that a black man thing?
Is it?
Is it?
No.
It's not.
No. We're living in the West, right?
Yeah.
We had a president not too
Had?
long ago. Well, okay. I was thinking of a different timeline.
What time? Yesterday, last week?
The 90s.
Okay.
Right, we had a president during well,
Bill Clinton.
the United States had a president during the 90s.
He talking about Bill Clinton, y'all.
from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had he claimed that at
Allegedly.
first that he had that he didn't have
He
sexual
did
relations.
not.
And then it was proven to be
With evidence.
Look
With
at
pictures and photos and statements.
there was a recording.
Yeah. It was recorded ironically.
Yeah, of audio recording.
But that's one person.
Yeah.
Brother Boyo
Bello.
Bello.
Oh my God.
He has recordings of over
300.
400.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man.
Of wives
One is
and
too many.
girlfriends, of his peers, of his co-workers, of his friends, of his neighbors.
Those aren't his friends.
Pretty much of everybody that he knows.
Those
If
aren't his
you came
friends.
around him with a girl,
Yeah.
he what I'm trying to understand is being that this hypersexualization and this promiscuity isn't a black man thing.
Okay.
Because on my end, I heard for a long time, because I'm from the South. You know what I'm saying? In the South, they tell white women and white men that black men will come and pretty much fuck your bitch.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know where that came from, but there's a lot of context that's drawn from that. They say King Kong is pretty much the depiction of the black man. You know what I'm saying? That's why they say, about boxers. They don't like black boxers because, they always beating up the white man and going home and sleeping with the white woman. But what I'm trying to know is especially if black Americans was in slavery, if we was working all the time, how we got time to be fucking the master's bitch?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But with that, what I want to understand is if this is part of the same culture, how do these perspectives start to differ? Because you bring up a good point. We had or maybe have elected officials that have been allegedly accused of the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to say no names, but folks been grabbing folks by the pussy for a long time. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying no names.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there might have been hush money that might have been
They
paid.
could have. So where did Brother Bello go wrong?
Well, I'd say that there's been a lot of progress in Africa. We might not like to admit it, but I am a journalist on Combos TV. And one of the things that I was covering a lot was the Sahel states, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger,
Yeah.
and the progress that they were making with kicking out the French,
Yeah.
right, outside of the country and taking over gold mines and petroleum mines. And so I say that to say that there's been a lot of progress made in Africa. You know, Kenya had its riots and protests against a finance bill that wasn't even signed into law this summer. So I say all that to say that this year has been the start of a year where more Africans are calling for accountability of their elected officials. And so even a whisper of something of this magnitude, it blows up because Africans are saying, especially the Africans in Equatorial Guinea, are saying to themselves like, hey, yo, you're supposed to be the next guy up.
Yeah. You're supposed to be in charge. You're supposed to be leading this country.
And we have video evidence
Of you doing things
of
that
you
you're not leading the country.
Well, and I think it even goes further than just sex, right? Is because it's like, what are you doing with your time?
Fucking. He's fucking.
But how does that progress? And that's what Africans are asking themselves. That's why this story was so big.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
Yeah.
It's because people are saying like, no wonder why we're such in a shitty situation. Because like, bro, this is what you're doing with your time. It's like you find out that you pay rent for, let's say, 10 months, right?
Yeah.
And you find out from your neighbor and ask me where I came up with this scenario.
Where you came up with this?
It happened. This scenario that I'm about to say.
This is true life. Yeah.
This happened to me.
All right.
So I was paying, let me just say it.
Tell it.
This was my second, maybe third place, that third apartment that I had lived at after I moved out of my dad's house.
All right.
I'm taking out the trash. My neighbor comes to me. I live in an apartment building. My neighbor right across the hallway comes up to me and he's like, hey, yo, like, how do you pay your rent? And I'm like, hey, why? What's going on? And then he's like, no. Like, cause like I do certified checks for my rent and something from 3 months ago just came back. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, nothing's came back to me, but I do the electronic payment.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay. Well, the following month, Wells Fargo hired a real estate company to send like pretty much a cease and desist letter to our building and saying like, hey, Wells Fargo has filed a lawsuit against your property manager because he's been taking the checks and
not paying his bills.
They weren't able to find him. Yeah. So he was probably in Puerto Rico somewhere.
Or in Equatorial Guinea.
That's pretty funny. I don't usually give you points on this podcast, but you got some points today.
Shit, with a couple of bands, shit, and we know what's going down.
That's pretty funny.
Okay.
So I say, like, people are really upset because it's like, what are you doing with your time? Yeah. Well, I got to find out that our property manager was using his time in a very abusive way.
Wow. Because
it's like, oh, no wonder why I called about something in my unit and no maintenance ever showed up. Well, because you've been taking the money. Yeah. Or you just never answered the emails because you're in Equatorial Guinea enjoying yourself.
With 10, 20 bands.
Look at that. Look at that. We had 30 days to move, by the way.
Word.
Yeah.
That's fucked up. That's fucked
up.
I
moved back in with my dad.
Oh, that is not good. And that's kind of what my next question is around. Because when these things happen, you know, especially as it relates to the African and the African American, because for most people, I'm not going to lie. Like, this conversation has been real progressive because we're outstanding citizens trying to uphold the law. But there's some savages out here, and I know there's somebody right now having sexual relations with somebody woman, and they don't care. You know what I'm saying? But what I want to understand is, how does that just always be around the black person of a darker hue? And that's one of the questions that I have for you, brother DJ Cordero, is how do differences in cultures impact the actions of people. Being that it's an African man that's having sex with 400 people, it's a problem.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey Epstein is a white man.
Yeah.
He's been organizing sex for over 400 people almost every day for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was only a problem until somebody said it's a problem.
Yeah.
Or somebody else. Like, I ain't trying to throw nobody under the bus, but allegedly, Bill Cosby. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of black, but, he is black. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying?
You gonna leave Bill Cosby alone.
I'm going to leave Bill Cosby alone, but I'm going to jump to somebody else. What's my guy, the director? What's his name?
Harvey Weinstein?
Harvey Weinstein. Boy, he been abusing at least 500 women an hour. You know what I'm saying? So how does the cultural differences make this situation different? If Brother Bello was a white man, how would this be different?
Well, so I look at things and it's like, who's telling the story?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it goes back to like, what media are you getting your information from, right? Is it our media or is it somebody else's media? And oftentimes you ask, it's like a neighbor telling a story about your household.
Yeah.
Usually your neighbor's not going to have the best information and or all the information. So that's why your household has to tell your household story.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not from Raheem's household, so who am I to tell something about his household?
Yeah.
And to do it in a good light.
Yeah.
More than likely, I would either miss a few things, or if I wanted to be vindictive, I could add in some things that might not paint you guys in the best light. Yeah. And so that's why I think has been happening. But also, it's like, are we in Equatorial Guinea? Yeah. Now, granted, I actually like when Equatorial Guinea stands up and says, hey, we need accountability for what's going on.
Yeah.
But outside sources, I don't expect them to paint anybody from Africa into a good light, because why should they? Yeah. What incentive do they have to do that?
Yeah. Well, what I like most about this situation is that Equatorial Guinea, they identified this problem and they made light of it, like Brother DJ Cadero was saying, and hopefully they're going to do something about it.
Well, they threw a lot. Don't quote me, but he's in court for something. I don't know what the charges are, but he's being held legally accountable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these is just all technical terms, because allegedly Young Thug was in court, murdered a whole bunch of people in Atlanta, but he's out free. Yeah. So allegedly, that could mean a whole lot of things.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the question that I have for you. When it comes down to situations like this, and people are doing things that are morally wrong, because y'all, having unprotected sex with your peers, loved ones, that's not right. You should not be doing that. If you love somebody and you're having unprotected sex with their loved ones, you shouldn't be doing that. But, because that is diabolical work. Okay. But when it comes down to positions of power, like, where do we draw the line? Because I respect Equatorial Guinea in their position that they're making towards this issue. But what does that say for everyone else? Because here in America, with black men especially, there's a lot of black men that's in positions of power that have been taken away their power because of situations like this. But alternatively, there have been white men in the same positions of power that promoted themselves because of situations like this. All right? Where do we draw the line?
Man, I'd say, just like anything else, accountability. It's really up to the people. And as we are seeing, the people of Equatorial Guinea, the people of Equatorial Guinea have said, hey, we're going to hold accountable. So it's really up to your community. and saying like, hey, we're going to call it out. We're actually going to try to correct this matter as is, rather than just saying, can you believe who we have in office? And then just nothing is done.
Yeah.
A lot of lip service.
Yeah.
Action. But action starts with accountability.
Accountability.
You look at a lot of global movements. A lot of it was started by one or two people saying like, hey, this is not right. It usually isn't like 1,000 people at first. It's usually one or two people that say, hey, this is not right. Then it catches on. But somebody needs to say something the first time.
Yeah. It's like what they say. I see it a lot in New York. If you see something, you say something. But that's a whole media campaign. And that's kind of my next question. What role does media representation play in situations like this?
Man, it really depends on where you're at.
We're talking about brother from Equatorial Guinea. What role does media representation play on this?
I think with the internet, like anybody can be a journalist. And I say that as a great thing. Mm-hmm. Because like even like a small scandal, even if you get a whiff, you could be potentially exposing something that could save the image of your country.
Yeah.
The image of your neighborhood, the image of your state. So media is great because where in the 90s, you might have gotten a look from a chief editor for a newspaper, but man, as long as you got a TikTok now, bro, a story can catch fire.
You got some folks that's gonna watch it.
Yeah, that's media. That's social media right now. Yeah. Media is integral part of this.
Yeah. So that's why you think this situation is blown out the way that it is.
I think as long as social media continues to remain, bro, you can't stop things that they say that the war right now in Gaza, right, has had such a global impact with people more siding with the quote unquote losing side right now. Yeah. Let's just be honest, right? Especially among college students in the West.
Yeah.
It's because of TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not proven to be 100% true, but they say that all across college campuses, the right has been saying like, hey, our college students are being influenced by social media. And they point to TikTok, saying that some of the images have been swayed in a way where our college students now feel sorry or empathy towards a side that we were initially looking at as the aggressor in the situation.
Yeah. So in this situation that you just brought up, because we ain't trying to get all that.
Yeah.
The Gaza situation. But when it comes down to it, what do you think the issue is with that?
With media?
With Gaza.
With Gaza, what do I think is the issue?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wish I was a political analyst like the way that you trying to have me be. But man, I think at the end of the day, most wars, if not all, it's about morals and values. One side thinks that their morals and values is right. And the other side thinks that their morals and values is right.
Yeah.
And then you clash. And war usually happens when both sides say to themselves, we're done talking.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think, because as a brother from South Carolina, a lot of my lineage is grown up around the Confederacy. And there was a big war fought with the Confederacy over the American people. This is the same people, mind you. They just called themselves different things. You know what I'm saying? And now there's a whole war being fought over one thing. And no matter how the sides break it up, is the thing was who profits over the slavery of the black man. So at the end of the day, it still comes back down to the African or the African American and what they willing or willing to not do. But in this situation, because I see it a lot of times, especially with our African nations, there might be something going on. I'm not saying this is a small thing, because this is not a small thing. You know what I'm saying? But even the smallest things in African nations, they get blown up to big proportions for some reason. And then sometimes they all big in the media, like Brother Bello. I don't know why we need to know he's out here fucking everybody's bitch, but he's out here doing it. But yet and behold, they just locked up Diddy for pretty much doing the same thing, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? On a grander scale. But that's little pieces to the puzzle. because we got the Harvey Weinsteins, we got the Jeffrey Epsteins, we got the President-elect Donald Trumps. You know what I'm saying? That has a history of doing this. They do this. This is what they do. So the question that I have for you, what would, let me rephrase that. So what role does cultural institutions play in the sexualities of people?
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
I love this question. Goes back to your schools. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible.
Go for it.
When you have your own schools, now you are less likely to have an external influence having their ideologies into the youth.
So like Dr. Umar Johnson.
Shout out to Dr. Omar, man. You've been
That's your guy.
You've been on my
That's your guy.
You've been on my channel twice, man.
Yeah.
Big up to you, man. Thank you for coming on.
When's the school gonna be open? Since that's your guy.
We're focused on Equatorial. And the question was, what does education how can it prevent? I think that's where you go. So where I was going was that when you have your own schools, you can have your ideologies and thus having, I'd say, like a firewall preventing an external influence. I have a lot of examples. As much as the Western media criticizes North Korea, we're going to go there. One thing that we do know is that North Korea says we have our own school of thought.
Yeah.
Another example of school of thought. Most Western kids grow up and they have an idea, if they don't watch it, they know what anime is. And they know that anime comes from Japan.
Yeah.
And that's a Japanese school of thought.
That's the shit.
Right?
Yeah.
For cartoon and animation.
Yeah. We used to have, what is it called? Blaxploitation. Ain't that what it's called?
Black exploitation.
Yeah. That was when the white man and the black man, we came together, made some good shit. That's where Shaft came from. You know what I'm saying?
Can you dig it?
Yeah, I'm right.
Shut your mouth.
Who is the man?
I digress. When you have your own schools, you're now able to say, like, this is that is this. This is, because I'm coming into a point in my life where there's not a universal right and there's not a universal wrong.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. There's some tribes in Africa where drinking blood from an animal is prohibited.
Drinking blood from animals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's prohibited. It's condemned.
You said there's some tribes in Africa that's condemned.
That
There's
condemned.
some tribes in Africa that allows that.
Absolutely.
Just like in America.
Because
that's crazy.
Because there's some tribes that look at it and say, we don't drink, like, let's say, a lion's blood every day, every week, not even every month. It's when a significant thing happens, like, let's say we won a war with a neighboring tribe, and not everybody's going to be drinking the blood from that lion.
Yeah.
Only the best. Hey, you got to be the top. Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah.
How many bodies did you catch?
Yeah. 400.
This is so. You. I don't know what word I want to use for you today, but whatever word I can think of is that.
That's that. So Brother Bello was drinking lion's blood. That's what you're saying.
What I'm trying to say is that Equatorial Guinea said that is morally wrong for them.
Yeah.
More than likely, they probably have schools that have taught, hey, when you commit this, that is wrong to our morals and value, according to our morals and values.
Yeah.
And that comes from having your own school of thought.
Yeah.
And I believe wholeheartedly that now Africa, after the Dark Ages, I call the colonial days Dark Ages, right?
Yeah.
we're moving forward from the Dark Ages, and now more Africans from these respective states and the Caribbean nations as well is saying, like, Barbados kicked out the British monarch, and now they have their own prime minister and president. So, and then Jamaica said they're going to follow suit here pretty soon and become their own republic and not have the king and queen of England ruling over them. All this goes back to having your own school of thought. And when you have that, now people can determine upon themselves what's right and wrong.
Yeah. That's pretty deep, brother.
I know. I tried to make it short.
No, it's all good. And I appreciate you getting that deep, because that plays into these dynamics, the cultural institutions that are at play when it comes to deal with issues like this. You know what I'm saying? That's why they have laws. And that's why they have constitutions. That's why they have policies and all of these things. So when things happen, they can judge like that's bad or that's good or, that's not right. But the question that I have is, in terms of these morals and this education, especially as it relates to cultural differences, what impact does those morals have on relationship perspectives as it relates to different types of people? Because Brother Bello was an African man.
Yeah.
All right. So, of course, once the story came out, African man having sex with everybody in Africa. That's bad. You know what I'm saying? But in America, like I said, since slavery, the African American don't leave your white woman alone, because the minute you ain't there, dick is out. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're saying. But on the other end, you got your Harvey Weinsteins, you got your Jeffrey Epsteins that's transporting kids, that's transporting women, that's doing all types of unspeakable acts to them, and doing it with highly political and influential people. But stuff like that goes under the rug all the time. How does, or what impact does culture have on these relationship perspectives?
Usually culture is created from a purpose and a fundamental, but those things usually come under the umbrella of a school of thought.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
The United States Constitution, and how the Civil War was a war fought based upon what each side interpreted.
What they thought, their perspective.
Of what was in the Constitution.
Yeah. The same document they was fighting over.
And you bring up Equatorial Guinea's holding this person accountable.
Yeah.
But
he's supposed to be the next president too. So we're going to hold on that.
But you're like, there's characters in the United States that haven't been necessarily held to the media. Well, but you were saying, you pointed out names Weinstein and Epstein, and you said, I don't believe that they were treated like the way that this individual from Equatorial Guinea. A school of thought, when you have that umbrella, now you can have everything else. And one of the things that you can have under that umbrella of school of thought is you can have policies.
Yeah.
You can have a foreign policy and a domestic policy. You've been bringing up during this conversation that...
Big words. Yeah, I've been using big words now just because I'm from South Carolina. Don't get that shit twisted now. I got big words for your ass. Go ahead.
You've brought up on a consistent basis during this conversation about whether it was during the enslavement period in the United States and maybe Reconstruction era.
Mm-hmm. Look at them using big words too, y'all.
I mean, they were right here. You got to be on your toes, man. I learned a thing or two hanging around him.
Hey.
The United States government might have not have said that they had a foreign policy, because again, it wasn't until recent times of American civilization that the quote unquote African American or Black American was a citizen, right?
Yeah.
At some point, it was 2/3
Yeah.
of a Black man was considered a citizen, right?
2/3.
Right? So what were you then? You were a foreigner.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. And there was a foreign policy against you.
Or maybe not a foreign immigrant policy, but a
But
property.
a foreign policy.
It was a policy nonetheless.
Policy nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
And it came from a school of thought,
Yes.
right? And on literature, that was the U.S. Constitution. And
Yeah.
then you had your breakdowns on intricacies on what that meant. So your question was on how it relates to people. Again, it goes back to school of thought. Your school of thought, and every nation has it. And I think a lot of us, either we don't get taught civics correctly, or we just have a hard time understanding civics, or we just don't get taught civics at all.
Yeah.
But usually nations determine that. Say, hey, this is our school of thought, and thus this is the rules of engagement that we're going to have amongst each other.
Yeah. So how does sexuality play a part in this school of thought? Because from what I'm seeing right now, and allegedly, all these things we talking about is allegedly now. I don't know nothing about none of it. I ain't never been to none of these places. I don't know Bello. I don't know none of these Epstein. Why? I don't know them. Okay. Don't know 'em. But how does race and ethnicity and culture play a part in the large perspective of sexuality? Because we see it play out in America in modern times right now. Like we talked about, we got your Bill Cosby's, we got your R. Kelly's, we got your P. Diddy's, that they have been accused of doing the same things that Bello's doing. You know what I'm saying? And they're getting in trouble. As they should, allegedly, if it is allegedly true. But then on the other side, we have people that are of lighter tone of skin that are doing the same things, if not more, in greater impact. And it's kind of being swept under the rug. So in terms of that moral train of thought for the African and the African American here in America, the question that I have is, how do we bridge those cultural differences in these sexual relationship views so that it's kind of the same? Because depending on what you look like, it's different. But how do we make it the same so that we can be able to see on different perspectives what it is actually is with these type of crimes? How do we do that?
What you're referencing really is just law.
Yeah, policies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so they say, most intellects say that law is subjective, right? Because it can differentiate on different people and different groups, right? Because two people can watch a movie and both of those people will see different things about the movie.
Yeah.
Okay? And I talked about policy earlier. We're going to relate this to the United States because you bring up the United States. And you said there's some individuals that are not held as accountable as the next one.
Yeah.
Because of maybe their hue and their pigmentation. Well, how do you solve
economic status? Or...
Absolutely. And so you say, how can we make that better? Just like anything else, you get individuals that represent your morals and values in politics.
This brother's a politician, yo. I better watch out for him. DJ Cadero for president, okay? You know what I'm saying? 2030. We're going to vote him in office, okay? All right. He's not like Kanye. No, he's more like Obama, but better, more well-dressed. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, brother.
So why is that important? For the individuals that are watching and listening, like, man, politics is boring. Politics is confusing. I don't really care about politics. Fine. But just know that where you don't care, somebody else does. And somebody else says, like, hey, the code of conduct, the code of ethics will be determined by me and individuals that represent my same morals and values.
Yeah.
So continue to not care.
Yeah.
That's fine. But if you do care, find the people alike and prop them into political positions.
Yeah. And set policy in place so that eventually, whether you don't care or not, you're going to have to abide by them. So with that in mind, other than obtaining political positions so you can, and put in place the power to make people do what you want to do, Because that's what politics is all about. But
Pretty
we ain't gonna
much.
get in all of that. Because we ain't trying to do all that. The question I got is based on now. So I want to think about terms of age and generations. Because, and I ain't gonna lie, we're coming up on our time, so we're gonna wrap this up real short. But depending on your age, a lot of stuff is permissible. Like, again, from South Carolina, when I was coming up, and that's probably why R. Kelly in trouble now, and P. Diddy and all these cats, because it was a norm. High school girls, people, when I was young, I have crushes on, they was dating older cats.
Yeah, for sure. We all
Cars and jobs and 401ks and benefits and all types of stuff I didn't have in high school.
Yeah.
I had Pokemon cards. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have much. And maybe a honey bun and some hot Cheetos. But that was pretty much all I had. Okay. But how does these generational differences in these views, traditional versus modern approaches, how does these things play a part in the decisions that we're making about these policies and these perspectives and that we're viewing about things now? Because 20 years ago, some of the stuff that folks is getting in trouble for, it was okay. When Bill Cosby was coming up, it was okay to put Quaaludes in a woman's drink.
Right.
Okay. It was okay to do that.
Yeah.
When Diddy was coming up, it was okay to do those things. When all these folks was coming up, it was okay. But now it's a problem.
Yeah.
How does generational views and traditions play a part in that?
So I relate it back to, again, the school of thought. School of thought.
Always coming back.
School of thought.
Just like Umar Johnson, he's going to open up a school soon, y'all. We don't know how soon, but very soon. Soon and very soon, we're going to come and see the Lord. Go ahead.
I digress. School of thought can also change. It can change, just like culture. Yeah. You know, I heard this from
Umar Johnson. That's what he said too.
No. Shout out to him once again. But
he said players change, y'all. You got to wait.
You know, a smart individual a long time ago, he had said that the purpose of culture is to solve problems.
You always be saying that.
Because it's true. Bro, the things that we're not going to get too much into this, but you know, there's a growing concern about relationships between men and women in the West, right? Yeah. Because we're like, man, like the way that our grandparents were able to stay together for 50 years, some people don't even last 50 days married now. But again, are the problems that our grandparents having back then the same problems that we're having now? Yeah. Or the lives that we're living? No.
Grandparents didn't have internet.
So, okay, we're getting too much off track. But, so it goes back to the school of thought. Your school of thought should also change with the times.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Ochana for president, y'all. Last question, and we're going to be out for the night because y'all, we ain't going to be talking about this all night. All right. But it's important to understand because with this, understanding perspectives, having good policies in place in your environment, this helps how you develop healthy relationships because this is a cultural thing, a cultural understanding with, facts that pertains only to cultures. So understanding how to build those relationships pretty much is the entire goal of this whole thing. But what comes into play is these stereotypes. That's what it is. That's kind of what we're talking about. Because everybody has their perspectives, but with their perspectives come stereotypes. Because once upon a time, Bill Cosby was good, and then it was bad. All right? Once upon a time, R. Kelly was good. I believe I can fly. And then it was bad.
Can you hit that?
Nah, I ain't doing that no more. Once upon a time, Bello was good.
You said his name right for the first time.
I did. And then y'all did something. And he was like, yo, you know what? I'm going to get y'all.
You think that's what it was?
I don't know. But what I want to know, and this is what we're going to leave off for tonight. Because in all of that, and this is what I believe, because once upon a time, I was an innocent young man from South Carolina, green, Didn't know nothing. Just thought the world was full of opportunity. Then I went to college. Stuff started setting in. And I went to after college. Stuff started setting in. Then I became an old man. You know what I'm saying? And now I got my own views, my own perspectives. I have my own insight on things. When it comes to these stereotypes, as we're growing and maturing in perspectives, in intellect, schools of thought, how can these harmful stereotypes be addressed and corrected, especially as it relates to the African or the African American or any man? How can we start to fix these things so that no matter who does it, if it's a problem, then it's a problem. If you see something, you say something. How can these harmful stereotypes be addressed and corrected without disrespecting or demeaning people?
Oof. I don't want to spend too much time, but the first thing that comes to mind is voice. And voice can come in many different mediums. One medium that I'm thinking of is social media. Speaking out loud.
Yeah.
You can use social media, especially to garner attention. And again, like-minded people will usually follow with a great message.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not right. I agree with that. And just let it grow from there. Yeah, I'd say that's the first thing that you can do. Everything else it follows after that.
Yeah. So as we end up on our time, because we're on our last 5 minutes, as we end up on our time, what is your message to the people that are in part impacted by this situation? Because no matter who we are or what we're doing or what we're involved in some way, shape, or form, somebody's dick is impacting our lives. Right? So, and I'm just being G with it. I'm just being G. Cause I remember way back in the day, I wasn't that old, but I was old enough. And Bill Clinton, he got some head from his secretary. Boy, that was a big thing. His dick impacted our lives. And the perspectives on how he used and utilized his dick differed among different people. There would be conversations, y'all, about how folks thought he did or did not use his dick in the right way to make things happen. And I ain't trying to talk about that, because either way it goes, things happen. You know how that story goes. If you don't, you Google it. But now it's one of those things that somebody's dick is impacting your future. You know what I'm saying? So with that, excuse the language, y'all. But this is important because Brother Bello, Equatorial Guinea, he was supposed to be the next president. The next president. Is this sabotage? Was he supposed to buy NBC? Is this what's going on? Is he like Bill Cosby? Because the Huxtables was good until we heard the Quaaludes. So the question I got and I want to end with is, how do we change from this? How do we bridge our perspectives together and put something in place where there is some type of policy, some moral thought universally? Well, wrong is wrong, right is right. And in this situation, where do we draw the line? What are our next steps?
Oh, is it this camera? This is mine, right?
Yeah, that's you.
The last message. Here's a school of thought from me coming to you. It's not originated from me, but I echo the sentiments nonetheless. Husbands and potential future husbands. The life of your grandparents is not the life anymore. What do I mean by that? Your woman, or the woman that you're interested in, if she has social media, she is now having the direct access via DM and inbox to LeBron James, athletic elite, Michael B. Jordan, Hollywood or film elite, Neil deGrasse Tyson, intellectual elite.
Yeah.
Aliko Dangote of Nigeria, oil industry business tycoon, elite. What does this mean? Well, this means is that as long as your woman or the woman that you're interested in has social media, if you're not at where you need to be potentially as a man, there's a chance that that woman can leave you for a bello. He was the political.
He will fuck your bitch. He is going to fuck your bitch. If you are slipping in any shape, form, or fashion, he is going to fuck her.
So that's one part.
Yes.
Is that just know that as long as she has social media,
he's not using condom either.
She has direct access.
And he's eating butt.
To any of those elites.
He's eating butt.
Of those categories.
I don't know, but that's what they say. He's eating butt too, y'all.
The other part is that just like at any other time, I don't think that this is going to change. It didn't change from our grandparents, great-grandparents. It's not changing now. Really think about the woman that you want to get involved with. Usually there's signs. One of the things that I've been picking up in the last few years is that most of the time, us brothers, this word game that was passed down to us, I grew up thinking that game was a way to, show off on, how well you can get a woman to be interested in you. And it has it's good, but I've gotten to find out, and especially in the most recent years, that game is a way to really have somebody that was not interested in you. You're trying to prove to this woman that you're worthy. Imagine you worked your butt off to make $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $1 million a month. And now you're having to run game on somebody that doesn't like you. And then if they're put in a position to meet a bello, they will cheat on you, go behind your back. I'd say number one, focus on yourself, but at the same time, go out and find those women that will like you for you. So then when they're approached with a bello, they'll say, well, my man already has everything that bello has. So I'm actually facing a greater risk by ruining the relationship and the potential future that I have with my current husband.
Yeah. Nah, these is insightful words that I'm trying to speak. And I'm going to leave on this because I'm going to add to that. I'm going to piggyback on that. You know what I'm saying? Because Ochanda said it in a very nice and well put together way. But I'm a little country, y'all. So I'm going to try to repeat that, but just in a different way. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, you got to find people that love you. That's number one. Find somebody that loves you and understands who you are. Because if you're in that freaky deaky stuff, then you need somebody who understands that too. Because if not, you're getting in trouble. Okay? If you start doing freaky deaky stuff on folks that ain't freaky deaky, you're going to jail, sir. It is a sexual assault. Okay? You're going to jail. Okay? No more. All right? Stop putting stuff in people's drinks. Stop putting stuff in people's weed. Stop putting stuff in people. Okay? Unless you got consent. Okay? That's the word. And number two, with that, you got to make sure that with that spectrum, that you're around people that has that same moral train of thought, and that is right. All right? Because as time changes, things don't be right. Like eating butt. I don't know where that came from. I do not do that. But apparently that is something that people do. People eat butt these days. So if you eat butt, find somebody that like to eat butt, and then you won't get in trouble. But if you out here eat butt, and somebody don't like eating the butt, you're going to jail, sir. Okay? You're going to jail. Okay? All right? So let's figure that out. Because the world is changing. There's a lot of different moral views about who should be and how they should be and why they should be. But at the end of the day, especially as it comes down to our political realm, I think we're entering into a new time. You know, a new time of when things that weren't accepted are accepted, things that were accepted ain't accepted. And I think with that, people need to be able to understand each other so we are on the same code. Because cultural differences can get in the way. Like with Epstein's and Weinstein's, you know. If you're trying to get a job in Hollywood, Maybe eat butt for free is a good thing. But if you, trying to be normal, maybe it's assault. But I think this we should be able to come together and figure out what's right and what's wrong. And once we do that, we need to stand behind that because we got political officials, we got people making decisions, and we change their perspective every day. And I think that's what's going on with Brother Bello. It's wrong. He was doing what he was doing. But depending on who's looking at it, how wrong is it? Because there's somebody else that does that every month. So who's wrong?
I think you guys are wrong for not hitting the like button. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Make it your best friend.
Best friend. So on that, we're going to be out, y'all. This is another conversation, cultural conversations between the African American. And until then, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe. Make sure you tune in, and we're going to come back with some more heat next time. So until next time, peace out, y'all.